الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما فنريد الشريف together اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ألا كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته صدق الله العظيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has blessed us with everything that we have. And the more we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us steadfast on Iman, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to do such acts which will bring us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are very close to the summer holidays, in which, well, we feel like the last 18 months has been summer holidays, because everybody is probably sick to seeing their kids all the time, whereas our deen teaches us that our offspring can be a great way to benefit us. And the easiest way to look at this is for those who are parents to turn back the time when their children were born, and the joy and the happiness that they felt at the time of their birth. Even the fact that we are able to have children is one of the greatest blessings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It gives a chance for a person to find ways to love somebody more that they didn't even feel, and they didn't think that it was possible to do so. And this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us these feelings that we are able to feel. And because of these feelings, we are able to make a connection and make a relationship with our children and with our families. And today what I want to touch upon is what we can do to use this time that we have with our kids in the best way. That what should a Muslim household be like? That we are living in the West, and unfortunately what happens is, because of living in the West, that our ways become like them, and we forget our identity of being a Muslim. And a very simple thing which was mentioned by Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala, and he mentions that for the first 7 years of your children's life, you should play with them. Play with them and be happy with them. And this is a time when, as they are growing up, this is what children do. They like to get up and they like to play. And what usually happens is that the dad is so busy working away, and the mom is so busy looking after everything in the house that the kids are left to the side to just do everything by themselves. And we are living in an age of technology where everybody is on an iPad or on a phone or on a tablet and just playing away, and they don't know what it means to go outside in the garden and play. And now the only way that they will learn and understand these things if we as parents get up and take them out and play with them and show them how to play. And this is something which is very important, that we feel that feeding a child is important and sending them to school is important, but also playing with them is important as well, because it creates that bond and the relationship with the kids. What we see is those who come from the generation from before, the father was just seen as the senior figure. Whatever he says is what has to be done, and he would sit there and just command, do this and do that and do this, but it wasn't really that, come play with me, let's do this. So this is what we have to change when we look into the life of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so loving towards kids that whenever he would be walking down the streets, the children, they would come running up to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would go to them, he would pick them up, he would play with them. And when we look at his beloved grandsons, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would love them so much so that he once was in salah, and one of Hazrat Hussein, they jumped on his back, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam stayed in sujood for as long as it took for him to come off again, just because he had that love for them. And this is the love that we have to instill into our children today, that to feel happy and to be able to play with them. So playing with them means that whatever they enjoy, to get involved with them, and from a young age to teach them about the commands and the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The way that their minds work is amazing, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, so much so that from a very young age we are able to bring that commands, the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have to do. It can be done very easily. Why? Because their minds, they work in a very special way. And one example is that once a woman, she went to her friend's house, and her daughter, 3-year-old, she came to her mum and she said, "Mum, we have not built a house in Jannah today. We have not built a house in Jannah today." So of course the friend who was sitting there, she was a bit anxious, curious, that what is she talking about. So the mum called all the rest of the children and she said, "Come, let's build the house in Jannah." So they sat and they recited Surah Ikhlas 10 times. The hadith mentions that the person who recites Surah Ikhlas 10 times, he has built himself a mansion in Jannah. So then the mother asked, "What would shall we put something into the house? What would you like in the house?" She said, "Yes, we would like some treasures." So the mom started reciting La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. They started reciting La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. After the mother asked again that, "Do we want to be able to drink from the hand of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam?" To which they all said yes. And then they recited Durud Ibrahim, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, all the way till the end. So the mother, she's sitting there, and the friend, she says that, how did you manage to do this? She said the way that the children's minds work, whenever they're watching some kind of a program or a cartoon, what happens is, in the cartoon there'll be a big castle or there'll be something very big. So this is the way that I explain to them. We can have this as well, and the way that we can have it is in Jannah, and the way that we can have it in Jannah is by reciting and doing these a'mal. And in the same way, so because of them sitting, and so this can only happen when we sit and we spend time with the children. So it is so important for the parents to always know what the children are up to as well, that we have to keep an eye on them. It's not enough that we just send them to the room and we get on with our business. So what has happened is laziness has come upon parents as well, that we get so engrossed into our devices and our phones and social media and all of these things that whenever the kids want anything, go do it, go do this. But we have to sit and give them time, talk to them. Now, this is a time when children, they have so many questions. There is so much going on in the world as well that they can become confused. And if we don't sit and talk to them and give them the reasons for why this is happening and why is that happening, then they will go and find that information from somewhere else. And we don't know whether that information will be true as well. So what they can do is very easily type it into Google, whatever they are, whatever they are wondering. So Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu mentioned that the first 7 years is for them, for you to play with them. The next 7 years is for you to teach them, to teach. That this is a chance that, when they are doing something good, or when we want to encourage them to do something good, we tell them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will love it if you do this. So we bring that love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into their heart. Now, we have to start using this terminology and these things from a very young age. That Allah loves this. If you do this, Allah will love it. And if you do this, then shaitan will be your best friend. So they have to be told about who shaitan is from a very young age as well. What usually happens is, back in the days, what the parents would use to scare the kids, that the Maulvi Sahib is coming. If you mess about, the Maulvi is going to come and he's going to beat you up. Or the Sheikh is going to come and he's going to beat you up. So then what happens is, when the first day that they come to the masjid, they'll see, oh wait, that's the guy who's going to beat me up, so I have to stay away from him. But this is the wrong kind of a teaching. The teaching should be that this is what shaitan likes, and this is what shaitan encourages. And this is where we have to build that right connection with our children and be able to teach them things. So at the age from 7 to 14 onwards, this is when their minds are working very fast. This is when they are able to pick up things very quickly. And this is when we need to give them even more time and make sure that there is an allocated time during the day when we sit and we talk to them and we read about the stories of the Sahaba, we read about the Prophets. You're only going to get something from your children if you put in the effort. When we send them to school and they learn things, we get, it makes us happy because they're learning something. But the same way they have to learn about their deen as well. And the only way that they can learn about the deen is when they are sat and they are in the environment. And we are in a very difficult situation right now as well. The fact that we cannot bring the kids into the masjid to teach and everything is done online is very difficult. I have found it, it's not the same because there's no environment. The kids, they log on for 5 minutes and that's it, they're gone and they're done. So they're not getting that as well. So this is the time for the parents to stand up. The parents have to make that kind of an environment in the house. And once that environment is there, then we will see the fruit that it springs from it. And then Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu mentioned that the next 7 years, from 14 to 21, this is the time when we advise them. Because this is when majority will become mature. And this is when it is, everything becomes incumbent on them. So they have their own responsibilities, their own personalities will start to come out. And this is where, by pushing them, it is going to take them further away. But we have to set boundaries as well. They have to know what is right, what is wrong. And when they have something when they know that there is a boundary that they have to stop there, they'll be able to, they'll have some kind of understanding that, I can do this and I can't do this. But because if we leave it to them, if we leave it too young, so for example, if you see that he's still too young, he's still too young, well, that still too young is going to be a problem in the future. So if we don't keep a hold of them from a young age, when they get older, then it is very difficult. Because they'll say that, when I was younger, you never used to say anything to me, so why should I do it now? So the important part is to have a relationship with our children where they have, a friendship with us. But it shouldn't be a friendship where, they speak to us in whatever way they feel like. And, but there has to be that respect as well. And this is what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has also taught us as well, that we make that effort. When a person makes the effort with their children, then he will be able to bear the fruits of it, and he will be able to have that sadaqah jariyah for him as well. And this is what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentioned, that one of the things that will benefit a person when he leaves the dunya is his children that do good deeds. And when a person continues, so this is the time to make that effort with our children. That these holidays that we have that are coming up, that to spend some time, to take maybe a day off from work and then go out and about, enjoy the weather, but spend time with the children. Not to just sit at home and let them do whatever they feel like. So this is a chance where we can bond. And especially in a time when there is so much going on around as well in the dunya, whereas we are currently at a stage where the schools, they are teaching many things which we do not want them to teach from a young age. For example, we have the same-sex marriage, and we have all of these different things. Now, if we do not teach our children about it from before, then they will go into school and they will hear about it and they'll think that this is the right way. But if we tell them from before that this is what our deen teaches us and this is how we should deal with it, then they will have an understanding of it from before. But if we just leave it to them and we just say whatever is going to happen will happen, then it will be very difficult for us down the line. So this is where we have to always make that opportunity, that instead of sitting down and waiting, to be proactive, to do the right thing and make sure that we make that effort in order for our children to gain closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the ability to try and bring these things into our life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep our offspring on Iman. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us steadfast on the deen as well. Ameen wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.